जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। शोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवनचारि। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवनचारि। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे। जय राधा माधव राधा माधव राधे। जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा सुभद्रा माँ जय सुदर्शन। गोपाल देव जय गोपाल देव जय गोपाल देव। गौरनिताय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय। जय प्रभुपदा शिल प्रभुपदा जगद्गुरु शिल प्रभुपदा। जय श्रीपदा जय गुरुदेवा श्रीपदा जय श्रीपदा। जय जय श्रीपाद 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 श्रीपाद। जय गुरु महाराज श्री श्रीपाद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। जय जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। संवेद गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। ताई गौर। So today we are continuing the Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 16. King Chitra Ketu meets the Supreme Lord. Text number 16 to 19, 16, 17, 18 and 19. I'll just read the verse and quickly go to the translation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavate uttama sloke bhaktir bhavati naishake. Text number 16. Kalindyam vidhivatsnatva krita punya jalakriya maunena samyata prano brahmaputra vavandhata. Kalindyam vidivat snatva krita punya jalakriyah Maunena samyata prano brahma putra vavandata. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Translation. The king bathed in the water of the Jamuna, and according to prescribed duties, he offered oblations of water to the forefathers and demigods. Very gravely controlling his senses and mind, he then offered his respects and obeisances to the sons of Lord Brahma, Angira and Narada. Text number 17. अथ तस्मै प्रपन्नाय भक्ताय प्रयतात्मने भगवान् नारद प्रीतो विद्यामेतामुवाचः अथ तस्मै प्रपन्नाय भक्ताय प्रयतात्मने भगवान् नारद प्रीतो एताम उवाचः. Translation. Thereafter, being very much pleased with Chitra Ketu, who was a self-controlled devotee and surrendered soul, Narada, the most powerful sage, spoke to him the following transcendental instructions. Text number 18 and 19. Om Namastubhyam Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhimahi Pradyumnaya Niruddhaya Nama Sankarshanaya Cha Namo Vijnanamatraya Paramanandamurtaye Atma Ramaya Shantaya Nivritta Dvaita Drishtaye. Om Namastubhyam Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhimahi Pradyumnaya Niruddhaya Nama Sankarshanaya Cha Namo Vijnanamatraya Paramanandamurtaye Atma Ramaya Shantaya Nivritta Dvaita Drishtaye. Translation. Narada gave Chitraketu the following mantra. O Lord, a Supreme Personality of Godhead, who are addressed by the Omkar Pranava, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. O Lord Vasudev, I meditate upon you. O Lord Pradyumna, Lord Aniruddha, and Lord Sankarshan, I offer my respectful obeisances. O reservoir of spiritual potency, O supreme bliss, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who are self-sufficient and most peaceful. O ultimate truth, one without a second, you are realized as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, and are therefore the reservoir of all knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Purport by Prabhupada. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that he is Pranavas. I think it should be Pranava Sarva Vedeshu, right? Yeah. Pranava Sarva Vedeshu, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. In transcendental knowledge, the Lord is addressed as Pranava, Omkara, which is a symbolic representation of the Lord in sound. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vasudeva, who is an expansion of Narayana, expands himself as Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Sankarshan. From Sankarshan come a second Narayan expansion, and from this Narayan come further expansion of Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Sankarshana, and Aniruddha. The Sankarshan in this group is the original cause of the three Purushas, namely Karanodakshayi Vishnu, Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, and Kshirodakshayi Vishnu. Kshirodakshayi Vishnu is situated in every universe in a special planet called Svetadvip. This is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. Andantarasa. The word Anda means this universe. Within this universe is a planet called Shweta Dvipa, where Shirodakshai Vishnu is situated. From him come all the incarnations within this universe. As confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, all these forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are Advaita, non-different, and they're also Achyuta, infallible. They do not fall down like the conditioned souls. The ordinary living entity is prone to falling into the clutches of Maya, but the Supreme Lord, in his different incarnations and forms, is Achyuta, infallible. Therefore, his body is different from the material body possessed by the conditioned souls. The word Matra is explained in the Medini dictionary as follows. Matra karna vibhushayam pitte mane parichade. The word matra in its different imports is used to indicate the decoration of the ear, possession, respect, and the possession of a covering. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 2:14, Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkada agama payino nitya stam titishva bharata. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception or scion of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. In the conditioned state of life, the body is used as our dress. And as one needs different dresses during the summer and winter, we conditioned souls are changing bodies according to our desires. However, because the body of the Supreme Lord is full of knowledge, it needs no covering. The idea that Krishna's body is like ours, in other words, that his body and soul are different, is a misunderstanding. There are no such differences for Krishna because his body is full of knowledge. Here, we receive material bodies because of a lack of knowledge. But because Krishna, Vasudeva, is full of knowledge, there is no difference between his body and his soul. Krishna remembers what he said 40 million years ago to the sun god. But an ordinary being cannot remember what he said the day before yesterday. This is the difference between Krishna's body and our body. Therefore, the Lord is addressed as Vijnana Matraya Paramananda Murtaya. Because the Lord's body is full of knowledge, he always enjoys transcendental bliss. Indeed, his very form is Paramananda. This is confirmed in the Vedanta Sutra, Anandamayo Abhyasad. By nature, the Lord is Anandamaya. Whenever we see Krishna, he is always full of Ananda in all circumstances. No one can make him morose. Atma Ramaya. He does not need to search for external enjoyment because he is self-sufficient. Shantaya. He has no anxiety. One who has to seek pleasure from other sources is always full of anxiety. Karmis, Jnanis, and Yogis are full of anxiety because they want something. But a devotee does not want anything. He is simply satisfied in the service of the Lord, who is fully blissful. Nivritta Dvaita Drishtaya. In a conditioned life, our bodies have different parts. But although Krishna apparently has different bodily parts, no part of his body is different from any other part. Krishna can see with his eyes, and Krishna can see without his eyes. Therefore, in the Shweta Ashvatara Upanishad, it is said, Pashyati Achakshusha. He can see with his hands and legs. He does not need a particular body part to perform a particular action. Angani yasya saklendriya vrittimanti. He can do anything he desires with any part of his body, and therefore he is called Almighty. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanasalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Namo Vishwapadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Swaruptamodara Swaminiti Namine Nama Sadbhaktamane Manipurudbhavaya Cha Upadla Satvani Prachara Niratayate Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarurvyasha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukha Shamana Tam Namami Harim Param Sansara Sagare Magnam Dinam Mam Karunanide Karmagrahya Grihitangam Mam Uddhara Bhavarnavat Srimad Bhagavatam Pratyaksha Krishna Evahi Svikritosi Mayanata Mukyartam Bhavasagare. So this chapter is talking about how our King Chitraketu is able to have darshan of the Supreme Lord by the mercy of the saintly personalities Angira Muni and Narad Rishi. And here we see in these verses that the king, because he was lamenting, right? His son has just passed away, and the queens and everybody practically were lamenting. And Narada and Angira Muni, they pacified him. And so now, to get out of the moroseness, to become little refreshed, and he's going to the Yamuna, he's taking a good bath, and then he's offering oblations to the demigods and to his pitras, the forefathers, and to the departed son. He's offering oblations, and then very gravely controlling his senses and mind, he's offering respects to both these saintly people, Narad Muni and Angira, both of who are sons of Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma is directly the son of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, right? So Narad Muni and Angira are actually grandsons of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. So he is offering the respectful obeisances to these two wonderful personalities. And then, because of this attitude, this proper way of taking a good bath and then, doing the proper procedure, and then he's coming, and when he's offering obeisances to both these people, Narad Muni is the most powerful stage, as good as Bhagavan. Sometimes these personalities like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, they are also addressed as Bhagavan. It doesn't mean they become the supreme personality of Godhead, but because they are so much immersed in Krishna consciousness, so they are sometimes addressed as Bhagavan because they are very close to the Lord, they are very dear to the Lord, and they are as good as the Lord. You have darshan of these personalities, it means that sooner or later you're going to have darshan of the Supreme Lord Himself. This is what it implies. So the Narad Muni is so powerful, he is addressed as Bhagavan here in this verse. And then Narad Muni, he's giving him these mantras. This process of giving knowledge, divine knowledge, this is a diksha process. This is a diksha process. We call that Divya Jnanam Dadati. This is nice verse where it is being mentioned that what is that word? Yeah, Divya Jnanam Yato Dadyat, right? Kuryat Papasya Sankshayam. Tasmat Diksheti Sa Prokta Desikais Tattva Kovida. Those who are intelligent people, they understand that this giving this particular knowledge, Divya Jnanam. This Diksha is two words. Di means diyate. You're giving transcendental knowledge. And then ksha means shaya, means you're destroying all the sinful actions and reactions, and you are making that person pure and qualified to enter into transcendence, to the spiritual life. So this process of Narad Muni handing over these mantras to, and several other instructions to our Chitraketu is simply the mercy of these saintly people. And because of this mercy of Narad Muni and Angira Muni, King Chitraketu, you see, he is very quickly, Shipram Bhavati Dharmatma, very quickly, Krishna saying, like in the Bhagavad Gita, very quickly he's, in a very short while, he becomes, completely realized, and then he is able to have darshan of the Supreme Lord. So Narad Muni's instruction is about the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Person, and you see in this verse very nicely, he's saying, Om Namo Bhagavate, what is that? Tubhyam. No, just a second. Om Namastubhyam Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhimahi. Namastubhyam. No. Unto you, the Supreme Personality, Lord Vasudev, I offer my obeisances, I meditate, and unto Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Sankarshan, all these different personalities who are expansions of the Supreme Lord, I offer Namo Nama. Namo means I'm offering my humble obeisances. And then he's saying Vijnana Matraya. The Lord's forms, all these forms of the Lord, all these expansions of the Lord, they are fully transcendental and Vijnana, completely filled with transcendental knowledge. So Narad Muni is giving this knowledge Paramananda Murtaye, so that this person can achieve full bliss. Paramananda Murti. To understand the Supreme Personality of God. Atma Ramaya Shantaya. Who is Atma Ram? Who is completely self-sufficient. He is not dependent on anybody. Shantaya, who is always peaceful and he is always blissful. And then Nivritta Dvaita Drishtaya. The Lord, who is, there is no more duality in the Lord. There is Advaita, Achyuta. Advaita means it is non-dual, and Achyuta, infallible Lord. So this Supreme Person, I offer my respectful obeisances. So Narad Muni is actually teaching him this mantra so that he can revive his dormant Krishna consciousness. See, when we're talking about scientific knowledge, material knowledge, whatever we gather in this material world, these two things are very prominent. The one is the theory of uncertainty. You can never be completely sure whether whatever knowledge you are getting is actually, how do you say, you cannot be very certain that this is right. Even there are so many constants that we use, even these constants, they are actually accumulation of values over a period of time, and the so-called constants also, they change according to time, place, and circumstances sometimes. We say gravitational constant, we say this constant, that constant. These things also, they change. So one can never actually be sure, one cannot be certain about anything materially. Scientific knowledge, we cannot really be sure. And the other thing is incompleteness, the theory of incompleteness. Science will never be complete. Material science, the one we are talking about, materialistic knowledge. There are so many things to know, and Maya, she produces so many varieties, all these permutations and combinations. It's endless actually. But spiritual knowledge, this Divya Jnanam that Narad Muni is giving, these two things, there is no uncertainty there. It is certain. And then this incompleteness, Lord is saying, I'm giving you complete knowledge. And that complete knowledge is simply, if you understand Krishna, you understand everything. Yasmin vigyate sarvamevam vigyatam bhavat. This is a beauty of transcendental knowledge. And when this transcendental knowledge is awakened in one's heart, when one becomes, when one becomes fully immersed in this transcendental knowledge, then you see gradually this material contamination, all these sinful actions and reactions, everything will be put to an end. This will all go away, completely be destroyed. We may have this material conditioning over millions of lifetimes, but all these conditioning will completely be removed simply by awakening this transcendental knowledge. The Lord is also saying that in the Bhagavad Gita, that if you are situated in the transcendental boat of knowledge, all these sins will be burned to dust, will be burned to ashes, simply by the efficacy of this transcendental knowledge. So Prabhupada used to give this example, you go to school, you officially register, you enter the classes. The idea is that you're gaining knowledge. And then later on in life, you use that knowledge and, you make your progress, material progress or advancement. The same way, this process of Diksha, it is just a formality, but the idea is like you're registering in the school, that is just a formality. The real deal is that you're getting that knowledge. The same way, the Diksha process, when we accept, the guidance of a bona fide representative of the Lord, a bona fide spiritual master, like Narad Muni, then this thing, gaining the transcendental knowledge, this is what is the real thing. So when one gains this transcendental knowledge, then you see the process is actually, the real Diksha process has begun already. It's not officially wearing a different robe, wearing a set of kantimala, putting tilak on, and then, trying to chant. The real thing is that you understand, this knowledge, that this knowledge is what is going to restore, to, reform, and, help you to realize your original transcendental position, your natural function, this Krishna consciousness, this thing that we are all devotees of the Lord. When it is able to bring you to that platform, this knowledge, that is the real thing. So as long as there is no such knowledge, then one always remains in ignorance, and one only does activities which simply implicate one again and again in this material cycle. But the Lord's forms and the Lord's bodies, they are, we say, Vijnana Matraya, Namo Vijnana Matraya. The Lord's bodies, the transcendental bodies are full of knowledge. So because of that, there is no chance of the Lord falling down from his position into this material sphere. The Mayavadis and, other people, sometimes they make this, they think foolishly that the Lord's forms are also like ours. Because sometimes the avatars, they come down, they descend onto the material world, and you can see them in front of you. Even though they do very uncommon activities, still, people are so foolish. Sometimes they think that these bodies are ordinary bodies. You see these bodies changing, you see these bodies growing old. Sometimes you think that these bodies are ordinary bodies. That's not the case. Prabhupada very clearly mentions this. He says, like in the Bhagavad Gita, you see Lord Krishna is the chariot driver of Arjun, and you see Krishna was very old at that time, nearly more than 100 years or something. And he not only had children, he also had grandchildren. But you don't see Krishna with a white beard or big mush. You see, he still looked like a 16-year-old fresh young youth. So although he is Purana Purusham, he is the oldest person, still Navayovanam cha. Still, the Lord is the most youthful form. So the spiritual knowledge, it will guide us to the stage of, from duality, Dvaita, it takes you to Advaita, to the non-dual Lord, the one person who we have to focus in our entire life. This whole Bhagavatam is guiding us towards this platform. So from Krishna, the sequence is there. The Lord expands as Balram, right? And from Balram, you have Narayan. The sequence is mentioned in the purport by Prabhupada. There is Narayan, and from Narayan you have this three forms, right? What is that? No, I'm sorry. From Balram, you get Vasudev, Sankarshan, Aniruddha, and Pradyumna, the first Chaturvyu. And from this Vasudev, the very first Vasudev, from the first Chaturvyu, you get Lord Narayan. And from Lord Narayan, again there is a second Chaturvyu, Vasudeva, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, and Sankarshan. The second Chaturvyu, that Sankarshan, is called Maha Sankarshan. The one before is Mula Sankarshan, this one is Maha Sankarshan. And from this Maha Sankarshan, you have all these three Purusha avatars, the three Vishnus, Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and Shirodakshaya Vishnu. Karanodakshaya Vishnu is Mahavishnu, the huge form from whose spores all these billions and billions of universes, the seeds of the universes are emanating, Karanodakshaya Vishnu, from this Maha Sankarshan. And then you have Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, who enters into each of these universes of different sizes, encompassed. Anda means like an egg, it is covered. And then within the universe, the Lord Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, he lays in his own water, the water produced from his body. And then from his navel, you see that, the lotus stem where all the 14 planetary systems are situated. And, that lotus flower is actually the the conglomeration of all these living entities. And the most pious living entity is Lord Brahma, who is directly born from the navel of Lord Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And then again, the Lord enters into each and every single atom within the universe in the form of Shirodakshaya Vishnu. And this Shirodakshaya Vishnu is actually the Paramatma. And all the incarnations, they come through this Shirodakshaya Vishnu. There is a particular island within this universe. This is called Shweta Dvipa. And in this Shweta Dvipa, you see that, Shirodakshaya Vishnu is residing on the Milk Ocean on top of a bed of Anantasesh. And Lakshmiji is very happily serving his lotus. So these three Vishnus. So this whole sequence, Prabhupada has explained to get us to understand, that Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam, that Krishna is the supreme original personality of Godhead. And if you have Krishna, then you have all these avatars and everybody there. So we had the good fortune of being in Navadip in the last month, attend the Gaur Purnima festival. And there was a very nice lecture by one Maharaj. He was talking about how Radharani, she created a new Svetadvip. She created a new island. And, Krishna, he liked that so much. And she was playing the flute to bring Krishna there. Radharani was playing the flute to bring Krishna there. And Krishna named that place Nava Vrindavan or New Vrindavan. And later on, it became to be known as Navadip. That these 9 dvipas. This Navadip is actually located in Svetadvip. So these special planets, this how do you say? The spiritual planets, they can exist even within the material sphere and still be away from all these material contaminations. This is Achintya Beda philosophy. Everything is the energy of the Lord. It is non-different from the Lord. But still there is difference. Between the Lord and his creation, there is difference. The oneness and difference. And how that is possible, this is Achintya. It is beyond our conception. How Krishna can see, without using his eyes, this is something that we cannot even conceive of. See, we spend this whole existence on planet Earth. Not once did it cross my mind to even think, let me see through my nose or let me see through my eyes. I mean, through my ears. Has anybody even thought of this? Let me see through my mouth. Like you spend so much time on the planet Earth. Has anybody once even thought, let me see through my fingers or, through my hand, let me see something. So you see, this very concept is inconceivable. how Krishna's different bodily parts, they are all the same, and how they can perform the function of other parts. So Krishna doesn't necessarily need eyes to see, he can just see through his hands, through his nose, through his ears. So for a human being to achieve perfection is actually impossible. No. But you can come as close to perfection as possible, and this coming as closest to perfection is when you come closest to the Lord or the bona fide representative of the Lord. This is a perfection that we can achieve. This is a perfection that the Vedic literatures is talking about. And Narad Muni is instructing Chitra Ketu Maharaj, how to achieve that perfection by approaching the Supreme Lord. And then there are these wonderful qualities of the Lord. He said, Vijnana Matraya, main thing is that knowledge. The Lord has all kinds of knowledge. So if you know properly what is your position, if you know properly how to get to that natural position, how to perform your natural function very nicely, if you have this kind of knowledge, then your life becomes very successful. You are on the right track. And the Lord, whose form is full of this knowledge, he sends his blessings through the form of these, pure sadhus, through the medium of these pure devotees. And when one becomes little respectful and little humble, and when one can render service to these Mahatmas without any duplicity, then you see one can immediately derive the full benefit of gaining all kinds of transcendental knowledge. Complete transcendental knowledge. It is completely at your disposal. And then one has to just cash in, work on that, and then, perfection is, very easily achieved. So the Lord's form is Vijnana Matraya, then Paramananda. Everybody wants happiness, Anandam. There's nobody who can say that I don't want to be happy. I like to be miserable, and I like to be miserable always. Nobody will say that. But Paramanandam, the topmost bliss, the reservoir of all kinds of happiness, is the Supreme Lord. All these forms of the Lord, simply by looking at that, you will develop all kinds of blissful ecstasy. All the symptoms you will develop. And Narad Muni is guiding Chitraketu Maharaj from this lamentative state to that stage where he can be supremely blissful. And then what is that? Atma Ramaya. The Lord is self-sufficient. Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadati Kama. In the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, it is mentioned, Nityo Nityanam. We are Nitya, the Lord is Nitya, we are also Nitya. We are all Nitya Vastus. We are eternally existent. Then Chetanas Chetanana. We are also conscious, the Supreme Lord is also conscious. But the difference is Eko Bahuna. The Lord is only one. There is nobody equal or above him. There is only one personality of Godhead, Supreme Person. Bahunam, but we are many living entities. And the thing is that Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadati Kama. That one Supreme Person is fulfilling the desires of all these living entities. So this Krishna conscious movement is simply trying to, make your desire, whatever kind of desire you may have, if you do Tivrena Bhakti Yogena and you Ejeta Purusham Param, if you're doing very seriously, with very deep-rooted, strong determination, if you're able to do devotional process and you worship the Supreme Person, then whatever category of desires you have, all these desires will be fulfilled. Akama, Sarva Kama, Moksha Kama, Udarat, whatever category you may be in. The Bhagavatam is saying, you please, Tivra, very Tivra Gati means very, very strongly, very forcefully, you do this devotional process, very nicely, you do this devotional process and worship Yajeta Purusham Param. You worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. So this is actually the message of the Bhagavatam. This whole process, Prabhupada said, it can, how do you say, it's bringing about a revolution in the misdirected lives of the human civilization, in the people. A revolution. It's a revolution. It's a reformative processes. You reform all these sinful activities, the sinful thoughts. And it is also a restorative process because it restores you to your original, natural, happy condition. The state of Krishna consciousness. So this is a mercy, this unlimited mercy of saintly people that we are very fortunate. It's Prabhupada's mercy. We are able to read the Bhagavatam. Prabhupada's mercy, we are able to even understand a few, how do you say, a few grains, a few grains, or some few drops from this ocean that the Bhagavatam is. Prabhupada's mercy, a sadhu's mercy. Same way, Narad Muni is extending that mercy to King Chitraketu. And the Chitraketu is a very happy recipient of this. And you see in the following verses how quickly he makes progress. And ultimately, he is coming face to face with the Supreme Lord. So I think I will stop here. Are there any questions, any comments? Thank you so much for your patient listening. And yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for this wonderful and nice class. Yeah, if anyone is having any question regarding today's class, they can raise the hand and ask His Grace Madan Manohar. Yes, Balramji, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Very nice, very nice discussion. So I have this question. What is the role of the Chaturabhujas? Like we say, Karandak Sai Vishnu is the cause of, he's in the causal ocean. So, he's the, the beginning of all causes, or the everything, all the material world emanates from him. So similarly, I feel the Chaturvihas, they are related somehow to the spiritual body. But I don't know, maybe if you could explain what is the role of this Chaturvihas, two Chaturvihas.
They are not related. They are the spiritual bodies. They are different forms of the Lord's expansions. The Lord expands because, see, by single person, the Lord is self-satisfied. He doesn't need all these things. But, Eko Bahusham, this Krishna, he expands into so many different forms simply so that there is more Ananda. That's all. And also, the devotees, they like to see the Lord in different forms. These are the two main purposes. To satisfy these devotees, who wants to see the Lord in, particular form. That is one of the reasons. The other reason is that, all this is Leela, actually. This is pastimes. The Lord is simply enjoying, with all these different devotees in different forms. You know the story, like how there was this one Ganesh Bhakta, right? Somebody who was very fond of Ganeshji, was a very devout worshipper of Ganeshji. He went to Jagannath Puri and then he was looking at Lord Jagannath and he was not satisfied. Although it is said that Lord Jagannath is the supreme person. So he was thinking, if this is really the supreme Lord, then let him appear in front of me in the form of an elephant. I want to see like Ganesh form there. And immediately, the Lord, he became, that with the trunk and, this Gajavesh, elephant form. The Lord appeared like that. And there is another story also. This is in down south. There is this one very poor buffalo herder, right? This person, he takes care of buffaloes. He's how do you say? Like you have a cows herdsman, like that. He takes care of buffaloes. The buffalo herder. So this guy, the shepherd, he used to go to the temple, but he was not allowed in. In his olden days, the caste system was very rigid, actually. So, he approached one of these Nambudris, the pujaris in the temple, these Brahmanas, and he asked him, I heard that the Lord resides in the temple. So can you please tell me how does the Lord look? Because I'm not allowed to go see. So you tell me how does the Lord look? So this pujari, in a very joking way, he looked at him. He saw that this guy is grazing buffaloes. He told him the Lord looks like a buffalo. Yeah, he told him the Lord looks like a buffalo. And this fellow, every day he was meditating, that, oh, the Lord is a buffalo. He was taking very nice care of his buffaloes, thinking them they are all different forms of the Lord. And one day what happened is that, they used to bring the ornament box, right, outside the temple for going around in a parikrama like that, pradakshina. And, the Garuda was flying above. All these brahmanas, these servants were carrying that palanquin with all the jewels of the Lord, this abharana. And they were going around pradakshina. And when they came to they enter into the temple, everybody, there was a big crowd, everybody was watching. This buffalo herdsman was also there. And when they were about to enter into the temple, they were not able to go inside. Something was getting stuck. So they tried in so many different ways, and nothing worked actually. So these people were all baffled. They didn't know what to do. And they were praying very severely. At that time, the pujari, that Nambudri, who was the head pujari, he asked, does anybody know why this is happening? What offense we have created like that? And this herdsman, right, this buffalo guy, he's standing there and he's telling, the horns of the buffalo are hitting on the door. You just tilt it to one side, you can go inside easily. And it seemed funny, but when they tilted the palanquin, the palanquin went inside very easily. So that person actually, because of his, complete faith and serious, involvement, he was literally able to see the Lord in the form of a buffalo. So you see, this Chaturvyu and any form that the Lord takes, all these forms, they're actually meant because the devotees, they desire to see the Lord in that particular way. That is one of the main reasons. And the Lord also, because he wants to enjoy that reciprocation, that bliss of interacting with his devotees, he appears in those different forms simply to satisfy them. But that doesn't mean that the Lord is a buffalo. That doesn't mean the Lord is a swine or pig. The Lord is Varaha. That these are different forms, but the body is transcendental. This is what is being mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. What I asked is basically, let's say we have 4 different subtle layers in our body.
Okay.
Yeah. So similarly,
Yeah.
in spiritual world also we have 4 different spiritual bodies. So I read somewhere.
Yeah, one second. You said 4. We have 4 different subtle layers in our body.
Subtle, layers in the subtle body. So mind, intelligence, ego, and
okay. They are the predominating deities for all this. Mind is okay.
So similarly for the spiritual body, so these are the 4 different forms of Lord. They are representing one of these forms of the spiritual body. But okay, anyway, maybe we'll discuss.
The question is little. You're not wording it properly. I'm not able to understand what you're saying.
I
but
think,
like you said,
Balram sir is trying to convey the answer. Like this is what he has read regarding the Chaturvyu. It seems.
Okay. Yeah. So it's not a question. It is a comment.
Yes, Prabhuji, if you know more, then please go ahead.
No,
anyway,
we will discuss it later. That is true. Yeah, they are different thing. Like Aniruddha is the predominating deity for consciousness. For the mind, somebody like this. These four are there. I'll check it up and I'll tell you. I don't want
So
to give the wrong
these
answer.
are related to the spiritual body.
Yeah, maybe we can have more clarity of thought and discuss it later.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, our Jagdish Prabhuji, please ask your question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Narration.
My question is like how Krishna is created. Like everyone says that there is no birth for Krishna, but
Yeah.
how can I understand this, Prabhuji? Can you explain me?
See, that is the thing. If I tell you are eternal, you will not be able to understand this. We are always existing. The body appears, right? But when Krishna appears, the Lord is appearing actually. It's not like a normal delivery. The Lord came out in the form of Vishnu with 4 hands, fully decorated. And then, Devaki Mata is praying, don't stand like this in front of me. This guy will come and attack you, become a baby, please. Then the Lord immediately transformed into a baby, and that baby was carried by our Vasudev, and taken to Gokul. So all these Lord form, it is called avatar. Any other form of the Lord, it is called avatar. Avatar means it descends. It just comes from the spiritual world. That's all. And to us, it looks like the Lord has appeared. He's taken birth, but it's not birth. It is the Lord has appeared there. He's just manifesting in front of our eyes in different forms, as a small child, as a young boy, like that. So there is no question of birth. For the soul, there is neither birth nor death. Na jayate mriyate va kadachin. There is no birth or death. What to speak about the Supreme Lord, who is the source of all the living entities, all these innumerable souls? There can be no question of birth or death. Eternal. Sanatan, that is a word used. Sanatan, we say, Ramanujacharya is saying, no beginning or no end. That is the word Sanatan. And that's why it is inconceivable, because everything we right now in a material form, everything we know, it has a beginning and it has an end. But for the Lord, that is not that. All these forms of the Lord, there is no beginning, there is no end. It just manifests in front of our eyes, and after some time, the Lord unmanifests, the Lord vanishes. He goes to some other place. But they are always existing in one universe or the other. So that's why we say Nitya Leela. It is always going on. Even now, Krishna is stealing butter somewhere. Krishna is doing all these pastimes somewhere. It's Nitya Leela, eternally happening. So it's very difficult, unless you become a pure devotee, unless you go back to, Krishna Loka, Vaikuntha Loka, we will not be able to know these things. So you can chant very nicely, become a very pure devotee, then, all these realizations Krishna will give you. Otherwise, mere words, one cannot be convinced. You need to have this realization. I can tell you honey is sweet, but unless you taste it, you will not know, what kind of sweetness the honey offers. The same thing. We have to experience that state of eternity, to come to the spiritual platform. Then you can understand all these things. Otherwise, right now, we can only simply know, okay, there is a position like this, there is something eternal. There is no beginning, there is no end, there is no birth, there is no death. There is a state like that. We can only know. But to understand and to realize that, it is a long way. We have to really work hard for that. Okay, something is burning. 1 second. Just a second. Yeah. Is that okay, Jagdish? Haribol?
Yes, Prabhu. Prabhuji,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, our Maharaj is having something.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Maharaj.
Madan Manohar
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji. One comment and one question.
Okay, Maharaj.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not comment to you.
Yeah.
Extending your answer to Jagadish Prabhuji.
Yeah, Maharaj.
How do we understand that Lord has no birth? So, if some of you have seen my presentations, you must have already heard it before, but since Jagadish Prabhu has asked, first of all, our mind is very conditioned to think that everything is created. Everything has a beginning and end. So, because of our experience. But if we carefully observe, there are certain things which never came into existence, even in our experience. So, it is very easy for the science students of science technology, even school also we have studied law of conservation of energy. In the law of conservation of energy is never created nor destroyed. So even in our conception, there is something which is never created. So that is first thing. So that means there are things which are never created. That is the number one point, and which we have proof in our science itself, that energy is never created. Number one. Number two, when we ask a question, who created God? We assume that everything is created, so that has been now removed. So there are more things that Krishna gives as indication which are never created. One is himself. Krishna is never created. Similarly, Atma is never created. So then what we see as our coming into existence and dying is only about our body. So therefore, the question of Krishna having no birth here indicates that, number one, it is common both to Krishna and soul. They have no beginning. They both are unborn. Even Krishna, even soul is referred to as Aja, not only Krishna. So in Bhagavad Gita, Ajo Nityo Shashvatoyam Purana Nahanyat Anyamane Sharira. This soul that we are, actual person, is never created. So as God. But the difference is that soul can accept a body, and that we can call it as a birth. That kind of birth Krishna doesn't have. He doesn't accept a material body. He comes in his original spiritual body. So therefore, he doesn't have a birth. So that is the whole idea of Krishna is being Aja. Is Aja in the sense as soul also Aja, but is another Aja is that he doesn't accept a material body. So therefore, we have to a little bit adjust our conception that everything comes into existence. That is not true. That is because of our conditioned thinking, we think everything is created. And many people use that to prove God doesn't exist, which is not true. And so further, there is time is also eternal. But this universe is temporary. This world is temporary, but the energy by which this universe is made is also eternal. So if you see this whole creation, it goes back into Pradhana or Mahatattva. So therefore, it remains as a potential energy inside the Lord. And when it is to be created, the potential energy manifests in due course to the ego, intelligence, mind, ether, air, fire, water, earth in different stages. So that's how we understand the Krishna Aja in comparison to everything else. But everything else, though everything is eternal, but still there is a hierarchy that Krishna is the supreme. And that is also eternal. So that is my comment. Then my question. So the key is law of conservation of energy. Please remember this about being Aja, unborn. There is something energy which we study in physics, law of conservation of energy. So the question is regarding the initiation. You said this is something formal. So we feel it is a little bit more than just formal. It is more profound than a marriage ceremony that we undergo in this world. Of course, marriage is just a ceremony, is a formality, but the real thing is living together and for the rest of the life. But it doesn't anyway reduce the importance of the marriage ceremony, which has its own significance. It is a declaration. It is an agreement that we live together, and it is a declaration to everybody else that we both are now engaged, and it is over. No more. It is no more open. It is closed, and they are bound by it, by the law, and so therefore it is marriage. Though it is a ceremony, it has a lot of significance. And though one may not have love in the beginning, but marriage ceremony is a foundation where this love is developed between the bride and bridegroom. So similarly, our initiation is also more profound than that, because this initiation ceremony, it goes beyond this life, whereas the marriage ceremony, it only maximum this life if it is not broken. But it doesn't. The marriage ceremony doesn't last beyond this life. But initiation ceremony, once one takes shelter, once one enters into initiation ceremony, so it is an agreement also. That's why the fire sacrifice is there, that both agree to accept those positions, and the spiritual master will continue to keep an eye on his disciple, even if he is physically not present, and he keeps continue guiding until the disciple himself doesn't give up his allegiance to the spiritual master. So we have the rules, regulations, they are all there. But as long as the disciple doesn't betray the spiritual master, or he doesn't reject the spiritual master, or rejected by the spiritual master, that relationship continues. And just like the government very much respects and takes as a proof of their relationship, similarly Krishna accepts this initiation ceremony as a valid bonding, as a what you call a spiritual legal act. This initiation. Just like marriage is a legal act, one is bound. Similarly, this initiation is a spiritual legal act which one cannot disobey this act. And Krishna accept the disciple as his own, just like spiritual master as his own. So therefore, it is the context where Srila Prabhupada is saying is that don't just be satisfied with the initiation only. That is the beginning. But we must fulfill the obligations of the initiation. And then get parted away, fulfill the obligations of marriage. So that is the important. That doesn't reduce the importance of marriage. So similarly, this initiation ceremony is as profound as the remaining part of the life, because it fixes our mind in one place. Just like boy and girl, they are very flickering their mind. But as soon as they get married, their mind gets fixed. They are no more flickering here and there. So similarly, normally a sadhaka, his mind is very flickering. Try to find out his shelter. So when he gets the shelter, his mind is now become peaceful, pacified and peaceful, and focuses on the journey, spiritual journey further seriously. So therefore, this initiation ceremony is also very profound in our life, which dictates our rest of our life for eternity. And that bond is respected by Guru and Krishna for eternity. Unless we goof it up ourselves. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, I didn't get the question. What is the question?
Question is that how is it only very formal?
Oh, I didn't mean. See, what I said was the procedure is a formality, but this gaining divine knowledge is a real thing. This was what I was saying. Where Prabhupada, I remember reading, he mentioned somewhere, the procedure that we do, whatever different formats we have for giving Diksha, this procedure is actually a formality, but the main thing is that that disciple, he surrenders to the guru, he accepts that divine knowledge, and he works on that. This was my point. I didn't mean to minimize the importance of diksha, but it's not the external thing; it is the internal bit which is much more important. This was my thing.
So, what is the initiation ceremony?
Maharaj, again.
Give when you raise the issue, you should complete it. I mean, you should give proper place. You have to cover the other side also, so that proper message is given.
I will send you the reference, Maharaj, where Prabhupada has written this.
No, I don't know. I'm not doubting.
Prabhupada.
I'm not doubting what you said. I did reference. What I'm saying is that we have to emphasize both sides. The one is the taking it as all in all, and another is just taking it as a casual also. Both things we have to address. That's what I'm asking. That's why I'm concerned. I say that's what is missing in that one.
Okay.
This transcendental knowledge is not some theoretical knowledge. Transcendental knowledge is that Guru is eternal associate of Krishna, and I have to serve him. That is the transcendental knowledge, because that will liberate me. That will make me transcend. So you should also put initiation ceremony in proper. It's the importance and the significance it deserves also. That is only my request and was question. You left it out. What is the significance of initiation ceremony other than being formality? Of course, it's a formality, formal, definitely. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Bhagavad.
Yeah, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
It is already 9:06, but two more hands are raised. We'll take one. Or Govind Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
You always speak very spiritedly, and many wonderful points explained.
Thank you, Maharaj.
By your kind permission, regarding about the consciousness is the common factor.
Yeah.
Consciousness has to be addressed everywhere. So in the conditioned state or in the liberated stage also.
Liberation. Yeah.
So the presiding deity of consciousness remains the same. In the conditioned state, the subtle, the chatur, antakaran, mind, intelligence, ego, and chitta. They have presiding deity in the conditioned state. That's why our intelligence is presided by Brahmaji, but Brahmaji is also like in a representing mode of passion. Correct? And our ego is presided by Lord Shiva, who is a presiding deity of ignorance. And then mind is influenced by or presided by Chandra, who is also representing mode of goodness. And Chitta, whether we call it polluted consciousness, but consciousness nonetheless, correct? Covered consciousness. I would not say polluted consciousness, because consciousness, because soul cannot be touched by matter. Consciousness cannot be touched by matter, but it can be covered, like the बादल को क्या कहते हैं हिंदी में,
Maharaj, Mada.
नहीं, बादल
clouds.
See, so clouds, so the snow in the sky. Sometimes in the Western countries, you see so much snow covering the atmosphere, covering the vision, or even the eclipse covering our vision. But we think that sun has been covered. Sun is too big to be covered by the clouds or eclipse or anything. Nah?
Yeah,
our vision is covered. In the same way, in a conditioned state. But when one attains the liberated platform, and then he's no more influenced by the effect of these presiding deities. Then the transfer is made. The mind, the presiding deity becomes Pradyumna. Buddhi, instead of Lord Brahma, it becomes Aniruddha. And Sankarshana, becomes the presiding deity of Ahankara.
False
But
ego. Yeah.
Vasudev remains the same.
Yeah.
The consciousness. That's why if you read Bhagavad Gita 7:21, there's a very beautiful sloka where Krishna says, what is the yo-yo yam yam tanum bhakta hai shraddhaya chitum icchati. Krishna is saying, I sanction it. So
Yeah.
the Lord who presides over our consciousness, whether in the conditioned state or liberated state, he allows us to pursue our goals even in conditioned state, because he doesn't want to interfere with our likings and dislikings.
Yeah.
So we have to focus that consciousness always presided by Vasudeva. So when our purification is entailed, and all this. So when Balramji asked this question, that when we attain the spiritual world, what happens to this presiding deities? So they get purified. The mind, purified mind, or spiritual mind, spiritual intelligence, spiritual ego, and they have presiding deities, the Lord's quadruple.
Yeah.
And Vasudeva always remains, even in pure consciousness, he is the presiding deity. So Vasudeva is the link, is for us, whether we are in a conditioned state or that's why we say the Lord is supreme controller, correct? Doesn't matter whether we are in conditioned state or liberated state, but he facilitates our
Thank you, Maharaj. I think that answered Balram Prabhu's question. Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes, so thank you, Maharaj, for coming in between.
Sanatan, I'm just giving this quote, but I'll just read this Prabhupada's thing because our Maharaj wanted this. See, this is a quote by Prabhupada in a press interview on October 16, 1976 in Chandigarh. Well, initiation or no initiation, first thing is knowledge. And there's a break, knowledge again. Initiation is formality. Just like you go to a school for knowledge, and admission is formality. That is not very important thing. This was what Prabhupada said. So I was trying to, say that. But naturally, Maharaj is saying that you shouldn't think that even the procedure we are doing is something ordinary. But, the real initiation is actually the sincerity and surrender to the Guru and to the instructions of the Guru. Maharaj is trying to highlight that point. And because this, what do you say? The energy is neither created nor destroyed. So the source of all these diverse energies, energy is simply transformed. So the source of all these different energies, the Supreme Lord, he is also neither created nor destroyed, pushing that point across, the source of the energy. So if one can find out this absolute source of all the different energies, then, one can understand actually that, there is something called eternity, no beginning, no end. One can understand. Then one can begin to understand. So thank you, Maharaj. Thank you very much for that.
But one point which Maharaj was making, Maharaj is right, because we are living in the realm of time and space, correct?
Yeah, Maharaj. Yeah.
The absolute realm is beyond time, influence of time. So that's why Chaitanya Charitamrita says that Diksha Kale. Kale means what?
Time.
The moment, at that moment when one surrenders, and that's why the ceremony is performed. Diksha Kale Bhakta Kare Atma Samarpan. Say Kale, again the Kale. So how you define Kale? We have to define in this, in context of our living. And that's why the ceremony, initial ceremony becomes very, very pertinent. Like Maharaj gives the example of marriage ceremony. We don't say, oh, just marriage ho gaya. No, it is performed with so much pomp and so much vigor and so much. Everybody feels it because we are so conditioned by time. So let it happen someday. We make it anniversary. We make it very, very special about it, correct? And that's why in the conditioned state, in order to transcend, we have to value everything. And because it is from the spiritual master who is absolutely situated, the ceremony becomes also beyond time and space. That's why ceremony is no more ordinary or no more even compared to the marriage ceremony, which is in the mundane affairs only. This initial ceremony is very, very essential. It is spiritual. It is spiritual function. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you, Maharaj. Thank you, Parvi. Yeah, we can conclude for the day.
Yeah, Jai Guru Maharaj Sri Sripad ki, Jai
Jai.
Jagadguru Sri Prabhupada ki, Granthra
Jai.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki,
Jai.
all BI Bhaktivedanta ki, Jai Gaur Premanande, Hare Krishna.
His Grace Madan Manohar Prabhu ki jai.
Jai,
Thank you
jai,
very
jai.
much for joining. See you in tomorrow's class. Hare Krishna.